Stadium in Israel, the U.S. meets Canada in the gold medal game of the 2018 World Lacrosse Championships. For millennia, this land has been one of conquest and reconquest, and this represents a fitting finale. The United States had a two-decade monopoly on the gold before Canada won it all in 2006. The Americans came back to win it all in 2010, only to see Canada capture the gold in 2014. 46 teams competed in this event, but for the sixth consecutive World Games, the last crusade features the United States and Canada. These two neighbors, these two rivals, playing for a gold medal. We're getting set to hear the national anthems for both of these teams. They played once in this tournament. The United States won a thriller by a score of 11-10.
Hey, Paul.
Good morning to our viewers on the East Coast. If you're on the West Coast of the United States, it is midnight, a little after. thank you for joining us for this gold medal game. Anish Shroff alongside the former Johns Hopkins All-American Quint Kesnick. Paul Carcaterra is down on the field. Chris Cotter is with us. We've got our own native Israeli reporter, Marav Sevir, as well. Full team coverage, U.S. and Canada. This is how we thought it would end up. Goaltending. You're a goalie. How critical will goalie play be today?
Well, it's critical because international rules really favor the team that has possession. And one of the ways you get possession is by making stops. John Galloway of Team USA, Anish, he's been widely untested in this event. The USA, they're a perfect 6-0. He's only had to make 29 stops. His opponent is Dylan Ward. Ward made 24 saves in a single game and sits at 68% for Team Canada. He's the front runner right now for the overall event MVP. For the 10 days in Israel, he's been an absolute brick wall.
These two have stood about as tall as the walls of Constantinople. And Paul, trying to breach those walls, two of the best finishers in the world.
Couple of insane shooters, Anish. We'll start with the U.S.'s Ryan Brown, 22 goals in the tournament. That leads the Blue Division. He is widely regarded right now as the best shooter in the universe. When you scout him, the problem is you have no clue if he's right-handed or left-handed. He shoots equally with both hands, multiple release points, unstoppable when Jordan Wolf and Rob Pennell find Ryan Brown. And Curtis Dixon, they call him Superman. Well, I'm going to call him Popeye. Everyone knows he's going right-handed, but he's so strong. He's got those snappy, quick releases, and he's got 16 goals, which lead Team Canada. Jeff T is the quarterback for the Canadian national team. He will look for Dixon on that right-handed side, and Dixon can initiate contact and get a shot off with pressure on as well as anyone in this tournament.
John Danowski, the head coach for the United States, 399 career wins in Division I. He's the head coach at Duke. Seth Tierney and Joe Amplo, his first lieutenants.
Pool play between these two adversaries was intense, would be an understatement, Anish. It was as rough and physical a lacrosse game that I have ever seen. That's going to put some pressure on these officials early in this game. Do they call it tight, or do they let the big boys play?
We see Randy Mearns, the head coach for Team Canada. Matt Brown and Taylor Ray, his coordinators. Canada looking to win gold for the third World Championships in 4 tries. They won gold in 2006 and 2014. They are the defending champs. And Quint, to your point, talking to U.S. players a couple of nights ago, it was astonishing the way they described the first meeting with Canada in this tournament. You heard words like hatred. Matt Danowski said it wasn't a lacrosse game, it was a football game. The coaches talked about the intensity. They said it was something that they hadn't been around in the sport of lacrosse, just different than any other big game. Well, now they play again with a gold medal at stake. Trevor Baptiste, 9 in white, will face off for the United States. And Team Canada veteran Jeff Snyder for the Canadians in red. A couple of former Denver Pioneers. And Canada wins the opening face-off. And something to watch, Quint, how the officials call this game. There was a ton of physicality when these two played the first time.
Well, from so many different angles, Anish, whether it's a late cross-check to the hip or shoulder area, whether it's their adjudication of face-offs. I think the first 5 or 10 minutes from these refs set the tone, and then these pro-level players will adjust.
Here comes Ben McIntosh. Now Mark Matthews. McIntosh has had a nice tournament, product of Drexel. 12 goals. Wesley Berg, 14 in red, against Jake Bernhardt. Berg dumps it over to Josh Byrne, a former All-American at Hofstra. Now Berg toward the crease, diving into the crease. Ball is loose, white jerseys around, and here come the Americans. Jake Bernhardt out of Maryland will bring it up for the U.S. And now the Americans settle into their attack. 3-31. Rob Pannell and Jordan Wolf. I'm not sure there is a defensive scheme that can stop those two when they're on the field together.
It's like a football team having two #1 wide receivers. They have combined for 21 assists with lightning quickness.
Here is Matt Danowski over to Paul Rabel, who scored the game-winning goal against Canada in the first meeting of this tournament. Now Rob Pannell, former Tewaaraton Award winner, over to Rabel, one of the biggest names in the sport. Danowski shooting high. Kark, how should the U.S. attack Dylan Ward, who has been on fire this tournament?
A heavy dose of this guy right here, Rob Pannell and Jordan Wolf. You mentioned earlier their dodging ability. If you put pressure on from behind, it will open up the shooters on the wings like Ryan Brown, Rabel, and Danowski up top. I think this game comes down to 31-3. If they're successful dodging, U.S. will win.
Top Schreiber, and that's a cheap goal against Ward. He hasn't given up many of those. 1-0 United States.
Schreiber out of Princeton, 2014. Long Island native. Shake and bake move. Right-handed to left, gets to the middle of the field, and then beats Ward with a bouncer. You see the circular ball movement, and watch 13 go to work. His feet are terrific. Look at that change of direction, frees up his hands.
That's a good sign for Team USA. Schreiber's health has been in question all summer after being injured in professional indoor. He's been limited for the Ohio Machine in the outdoor league, but when he's at his best, this is the two-time reigning MLL MVP, best field player in the world.
Battled a bit of a knee injury coming into the World Games, but we thought in the semis against Australia, he moved fluidly. He looked about as healthy as he's looked in a while.
Yeah, and not a good start for Dylan Ward. We're playing on a soccer pitch, tight grass, sand-based surface. Bounce shots should be in your arsenal as a shooter. You get a lot of kick off this firm turf.
Netanya Stadium, a 24,000-seat arena, home to Maccabi Netanya, the soccer team here. John Hawes. And there's the first save by Dylan Ward, denying Drew Snyder.
Ward played at Bellarmine in Louisville. Plays for the Denver Outlaws in Major League Lacrosse. He made that look easy. He was the difference maker in that 2014 gold medal game for Team Canada.
MVP of that tournament. First goalie to win MVP in the World Games. And he is at 68% in this tournament coming into the gold medal game.
We'll have a busy summer now with Jack Kelly, who's the starter for the Denver Outlaws, who went down with that knee injury early in this tournament. Dylan Ward actually backs up Jack Kelly for the Outlaws.
Here come the Americans. Jake Bernhardt to Snyder on the wing. A couple of former Maryland Terrapins.
Sloppy turnover. Early face-off today, 10 a.m. These players will likely kind of start slow and work their way into a fever.
For those of you wondering why this game is starting so early, 10 a.m. local time, 3 a.m. on the East Coast. This is a solemn day of observance on the Jewish calendar, and you're not allowed to celebrate after sunset. So they wanted to make sure they can get this game in, get the closing ceremonies in, and give teams time to enjoy their victory. That's why the early start. Here's Rabel against Zach Currier. Rabel initiated some contact. Now Jordan Wolf, two-time national champion at Duke. Fellow Blue Devil Matt Danowski setting the pick. Wolf with a missile just high.
International rules, it's a slower paced game. Lead to lengthy possessions by your opponent, so shot selection is critical.
Danowski thought about it, now pulls it back.
And the ability to defend for long periods of time, a minute and a half. 2+ minutes is so important for defenses.
Here comes Pinnell. Schreiber. Ward got a piece of it. Loose in front. The U.S. has it, and it's Rabel on the rebound.
Any way you can muster it up. The Canadians are masterful at crashing the crease off of rebounds. If you're Paul Rabel or any other midfielder, you have to attack the crease area and give them a dose of their own medicine.
Two subtleties on that goal. The initial shot, Dylan Ward, Canada's goalie, super aggressive on his line. He came out like a hockey goalie. He was to the top of his crease and nearly outside the arc. And then Rabel's shot, the head and body fake, looking down, ball location going high as Ward goes to the splits. Great deception by Rabel.
Face-off violation on Greg Gorenlian. Gorenlian was called for a stick check after a face-off late in that first meeting between the U.S. and Canada. The officials found Gorenlian to have an illegal stick, which resulted in a 3-minute man-up for Team Canada. The Canadians ultimately unable to score, and the U.S. ended up winning the game. But that play at the end of the game only added kerosene to what was already a physical and heated matchup, and we were wondering how that would carry over into today.
Like this game needed additional fuel.
Here is Josh Byrne against Michael Earhart. 28 in white, has been sensational in this tourney.
Paul, you're better off to speak on this. I didn't sense the barking, chirping, and pre-game interaction between these two teams was as heated today as it was in pool play at the Wingate Institute.
Oh, after that last whistle, there was 4 or 5 Canadian players talking some junk with the U.S. staff. I would agree with you. It's calm now. Check back in the second half, though. There's only a matter of time where these guys go after each other.
Here's Curtis Dixon, 16 goals to lead Canada. And a turnover by the Canadians.
Turnover city here in Netanya, Israel for Team Canada.
Quint, you brought up the point that John Galloway hasn't made many saves in this tournament. We're seeing part of the reason why. One, the U.S. obviously against lesser competition has had the ball more, but defensively, this unit has been in lockdown mode.
Look, outside that Canada game where they gave up 10, this USA team is outscoring their opponents 87-19. Tucker Durkin, 51 in white, Joe Fletcher, 17, and Jake Bernhardt, 36 in white, have been very good down below. But I think the unheralded heroes, their midfield defense, led by Michael Earhart.
He's been awesome. 2 goals against Australia in the semifinals, and his ability to strike in transition is giving them an added dimension.
Here's John Hawes. Earhart certainly an MVP candidate if the U.S. wins the gold. Hawes on the run. One is stopped by Ward. Rebound is free. Popped into the air by Brody Merrill. One of the all-time greats. Started at Georgetown. 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in the MLL. And now he's inspired the next generation at the Hill Academy where he coaches. Tyson Bell to the doorstep. Jeff Teat thought about it. The U.S. recovers.
Excellent transition defense by Team USA. The guys in white, they hustle, they get on their horse, they get in the hole. Canada sniffing things out in transition. They had success in pool play running from D to O.
Early in the game, Clark, that's what kept Canada in the game against the U.S. They struggled in the half field, made up for it in transition.
We talk about unsung heroes. How about Tyson Bell, 44 in red, and Latrell Harris, 43 in red. These two young defensive midfielders are giving Canada a boost from an athleticism standpoint. I think they've been fantastic.
Mark Cockerton, the former Virginia product. His dad scored the game-winning goal for Team Canada against the U.S. in the '78 gold medal game. Right on the doorstep, diving in, and Canada is on the board. Curtis Dixon is known as Superman in the NLL because of those kinds of plays.
This East-West offense is lethal. Crowley muscling up, 21 in red, the big righty out of Stony Brook. He's 6'4", 200. Look at him. Get out of my way. Draws the double team. Dixon Dixon goes airborne, and Team Canada is on the board.
Through the course of these World Championships, we have been fortunate to have Merav Sevir down on the sidelines for us, an Israeli-based reporter who has added a lot of cultural context for us here in Israel for these games. And we say hello to Merav. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. It's been quite the week here in Netanya, Israel. Not a city that's well known around the world. Obviously, when you think of Israel, you think of Tel Aviv, you think of Jerusalem, and you think of the history. Well, Netanya is a coastal city just about 19 miles up the road from Tel Aviv, which, as you all experienced just a couple nights ago, really is the city that never sleeps, as you saw people out until midnight on a weeknight. It's been quite the experience showing you guys around some of my hometown, only about an hour drive away from Jerusalem. The old city enveloped in a modern city, a combination of ruins and modern day buildings. And if you zoom out on the country, really a tiny country. Any players, fans, family who was able to come here over the last week could really just tour as much as they wanted in the little time that they had between games. Guys, you also mentioned this is an early start because of a Jewish Day of Observance that starts tonight. It is considered the saddest day in Jewish history, and therefore you cannot celebrate after sundown tonight.
Merav, thank you, and thank you for your contributions over the past 2 weeks.
Invaluable, both around the lacrosse facility, but more so for us to assimilate into this wonderful culture here.
Yeah, the country of Israel is slightly smaller than New Jersey. And Netanya sits right on the Mediterranean Sea. We have great views of the shore from our hotel. And because of the small size of Israel, we've been able to move around on our off days and during our free time. You and I visited the Tel Aviv markets during the day yesterday. Some of the guys went out to Tel Aviv at night for dinner. We went to the Dead Sea, floated. You took a mud bath. Canada, 2 straight goals. That's Ben McIntosh. We're tied at 2.
After 2 early turnovers, the guys in red have settled down on offense. Burn, and then the wing dodge. You're going to see a heavy diet of wing dodges. McIntosh has been a revelation for this team, Canada. Drexel 2014, where he played midfield and scored nearly 50 goals. Former Rookie of the Year in the National Lacrosse League. That's the indoor. I'm talking to Matt Brown, the offensive coordinator for Team Canada, who's also assistant at Denver. He said, you know, McIntosh was like one of the last guys picked. He tried out as an attackman. He's played midfield exclusively. He's been outstanding.
Awesome.
Drexel
Quinn.
Dragon.
Awesome. That's his 13th goal of the tournament, and I think his attack background is giving them a different dimension offensively as Zach Currier, Mr. Do everything for Canada on the wings and what have you. But I think McIntosh can get underneath and go after midfielders with an attack-like dodging presence. So I look for him and Josh Byrne, those types of guys, are those wing guys who have so much attack background, but they're midfielders for Team Canada. So they attack the defensive midfielders for Team USA and kind of take them out of their element.
Wing dodging. That's been the Achilles heel of this U.S. defense.
Cockerton against the shorty Will Hawes. Cockerton got a step. Circles around X. Now backpedals. There's Matthews. Got some size. And Mark Matthews gives Canada its first lead at 3-2.
Wow. That's a big dude. And watching from the sideline, these big hacking checks do nothing on the two-handed cradling Canadian offensive players. Mark Matthews against Joel White is a physical mismatch. Joel White is a fantastic player in space, but he uses that pick, and the contact is never established, not from a stick standpoint, but from a body standpoint by the U.S. defense.
Matthews, 28-year-old lefty who led Denver to the championship weekend back in 2011. He's been a mainstay in both the indoor and outdoor leagues. His rights now owned by the Atlanta Blaze.
Face-off violation on Canada, so the U.S. has it. 3 straight goals by the Canadians after the Americans got the first 2.
It's a certain power component Team Canada brings to offensive lacrosse with big bodies like Crowley, Matthews, Dixon, Leclerc. They like the shoulder-to-shoulder, hip-to-hip physical style.
Rabel against Tyson Bell. Rabel fakes the shot, tries to split dodge, back to Schreiber. Those two have the 2 goals for the U.S., Rabel and Schreiber. Although Rabel has been more of a facilitator in this tourney. 4 assists against Canada the first time out. Rob Pannell hits the ground, flag is up, and we have our first penalty of this gold medal game.
Canadian contingent voicing their displeasure in the call. You're going to see a arsenal of Pannell moves from X, whether it's a question mark, an exclamation point, a rocker step. Graham Hossack, who's going to be an all-world player here, absolutely number 4 with the hold.
So the U.S. will go man up. Number 1 in white, Marcus Holman, comes in on the extra man for the Americans. Schreiber, Rabel. Here's Ryan Brown, left hand, taken away by Dylan Ward. Another save by the Bellarmine graduate, who has been sensational in these World Games.
Canada invites the outside shot by packing it in. And once again, Ward being really aggressive on his line, Anish. His ability for a big goaltender. He's rangy, but he's really athletic and aggressive with that save. Really attacking the ball, go get it mentality. Finishes up at the top of his crease.
I think Ryan Brown has been more successful, Quint, from that area when he keeps the stick really high and he stings it low.
Well, when you do the analytics on Dylan Ward, most of the goals he has given up in this tournament have been high and, ironically, stick side high.
Yeah, because of the wide base. When the shooter cocks the stick back, he goes from high to wide. He's a really tall goalie, but you'll see him kind of flare out as the shooter releases.
Matthews over to Berg. Now Byrne, marked by Earhart. Earhart driving, Byrne back, who has to give it up as McIntosh sizes up the defense.
High wing with a potential pick coming.
McIntosh, former number 1 overall pick in the NLL, against Jake Bernhardt. Here's Matthews, shaded by Kevin Unterstein. Right on the doorstep, Dixon, his second, 4 unanswered for Team Canada.
A backdoor beauty. Defensively, your head's got to be on a swivel. See the ball, see your man. See your ball, see your man. Watch 17 in white. Gets caught ball watching, right side of your screen. See 17? He steps out to challenge the adjacent pass. Dixon takes 1 step towards the sideline. Boom. Where is he at? He's gone. That's Curtis Dixon, one of the best in the history of Delaware lacrosse.
Yeah, and Mark Matthews is turning into a fantastic passer. But when you watch Dixon on that lower right-hand side, on the goal line extended, if you're a young attacker, he does 2 things when he catches on that flat plane. He either extends his arms and flares them out to increase angle, or he goes upfield aggressive with his feet. On that last goal, you saw that. So always increasing his angle when he catches on a flat plane.
Kark in the first game, Canada for the first 3 quarters struggled in the half-field offense. What's different so far today?
When you hear these coaches, I'm about 5 yards from them, they don't want them dodging to score. They want a dodge and then rapid-fire ball movement. So there could be a party starter, as Quint likes to call it, whether it's Curtis Dixon or Mark Cockerton. Those guys won't show up on the stat line.
U.S. is also pressing out at X off of all this wing action.
Gives them 5-on-5. You know, Teed is so feared behind the cage. When they press out on him, the Canadians go 5-on-5. That takes a little bit of the defensive schemes out of the U.S. in their base defense.
We get a stall warning on Team Canada. No shot clock in the international game, so all Canada has to do is keep it inside the attack box. Final 30 seconds of this first quarter. Stall warning in this case doesn't serve much of a purpose. Cockerton and Will Hawes playing cat and mouse. Cockerton over to Crowley, looking for the cutter, and that one gets away, out of bounds. 5 seconds to go. Running clock until we get to the 3-minute mark of the fourth quarter. And quarter number 1 comes to an end in this gold medal game. Schreiber and Rabel opened the scoring for the U.S., but Team Canada closing quarter number 1 with a flourish. 4 unanswered goals by the defending champs.
The 2018 FIL World Lacrosse Championship is brought to you by Corum Watches, official timekeeper of the 2018 World Lacrosse Championship. Epic Lacrosse, the official equipment supplier of the 2018 FIL World Championship. And Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents. Protect what matters most. Go to trustedchoice.com to find a local agent today.
Back into Tanya, Connor and Cork on the field. Canada up 4-2 after one quarter. Cork, early on in the game, Canada was a little out of sorts offensively. A couple of turnovers. They got down 2 goals, but then what happened?
It's hot, and these teams aren't accustomed to playing so early in the afternoon. I expect something in the second quarter to change this game in terms of tempo. But for the U.S., the problem defensively, they're dealing with Canada's hyper-speed ball movement offensively. The U.S. also, I think, too many stick checks. The Canadian offensive players will swat you away like a fly when you use a stick check. You got to get in the bodies and really prevent them from getting their angles.
All right, Kark, I mentioned they scored 4 goals in a row after being down 2-0. John Galloway's made only 1 save, Kark, because they've been easy shots.
Well, it's Curtis Dixon and crew always increasing their angle, using their body, getting underneath the defense of the U.S. has been a common theme. Mark Matthews, too big, no pressure in the middle of the field or help defense for the U.S. Canada's rolling right now, and Matthews, we saw him as a scorer. Here he is as a passer. The back door, Dixon with his 2nd of the day.
Anish, Q, 4-2, Canada on top, getting ready to start the second quarter, guys.
Gentlemen, thank you. Team Canada, the defending champion. They beat the U.S. in the gold medal game in 2014. Canada also won gold in 2006. 6th straight World Championships in which the U.S. and Canada are playing in the gold medal game. Greg Gorenlian and Jeff Snyder, a couple of seasoned face-off vets, will square off to begin quarter number 2. Gorenlian can't quite pick it up clean. Now he's got it. He'll shovel it back in the U.S. on offense. Michael Earhart, a couple of goals as a long pole, 28 in white. And now the United States sets up its offense. Pinnell, Wolf, and Ryan Brown at the attack. And a midfield of Crotty, John Hawes, and Drew Snyder. Ned Crotty over to Hawes.
Offensive coordinator Seth Tierney, the head coach at Hofstra, told me they want to start really wide, spread this Canadian defense out, make them uncomfortable in space. They're so accustomed to playing indoors.
Jordan Wolf has the short stick bell. Wolf draws the slide up top to Brown. Hawes retreats against Jason Noble.
Looks like a man-to-man with a Jason help, almost like his own.
Wolf, Crotty, bounce shot, Ryan Brown, and for Brown, that is his 23rd goal of this tournament.
pinpoint execution. You see the double team right there from the adjacent man, which means the defense is rotating. Eventually, someone's going to be able to catch, step down, and shoot. It's Brown from 15 yards, changing levels. Paul, you asked for that earlier. He did it. High release to a low offside location. Absolutely scintillating.
Indeed, we saw it on the extra man when he went with his left hand high to high. I think when he cocks it back, he is straight, direct overhand, tracking that shot for Dylan Ward, regardless if it's 10, 15 yards out. It's got some serious gas on it.
Baptiste wins the face-off battle against Snyder. Trevor Baptiste graduated from Denver as the greatest face-off man in the history of college lacrosse. All-time leader in career win percentage. Talking to him a couple of nights ago, he said Jeff Snyder loves to talk trash. So I said, what's your counter? And he goes, well, Snyder and I have a relationship because we both played at Denver, and I killed Snyder with kindness. So I said, you don't reciprocate the trash talk? He goes, no. As Rabel's shot is saved, he says, when Snyder starts to chirp, I just tell Jeff, you were so nice to me at Denver. How's your family doing?
Thanks for the support.
Thanks for all the encouragement over the years. And a turnover by Team Canada. So a good bit of gamesmanship between those two pioneers.
Well, face-offs right now 5-3 in favor of Canada.
MLL championship game, Charleston, South Carolina, one of the great cities on the eastern seaboard. August 18th, 7 Eastern on ESPN News.
Dallas Rattlers, Chesapeake Bay Hawks, Denver Outlaws, the front runners right now. New York Lizards hanging tough, tied for that 4th spot with the Charlotte Hounds. 18th year of Major League Lacrosse.
The U.S. looking for the equalizer here. The last Ryan Brown goal stopped a 4-0 run by Team Canada. Now Rabel to Matt Danowski. He had the game-tying goal late against Canada the first time. A low to high from the wing. Wolf against the short stick Harris. Wolf, there's that change of direction. Had the double. Who's open? Over to Pinnell. Now Rabel.
Nice recovery by the Canadian defense. That single invert, they flush it with Jason Noble, 45 in red, and then they recover.
Here comes Schreiber, feeding Wolf. Ryan Brown gears up. Bouncer is off the mark, and here to back up Pinnell. Brown came into this championship game shooting 22 for 32. And he's got a goal today.
It's a man-to-man defense, but with zone characteristics.
Here comes Pinnell. 10 goals, 10 assists as the quarterback of this offense. Long possession by the U.S. Rabel turned away by Ward. Rebound is loose. Scooped up by Ryland Reese, the rising senior at Stony Brook. Reese had a nice game in the first meeting between these two with a goal and an assist.
That was an opportunity for the U.S. because Canada sent the triple team to the wing dodger. There were open white offensive players on the weak side of the formation. Rabel settles for the outside shot, and not a good one. That was a classic case of one more to the weak side for a potential layup or 8-yard dart.
Quint, the velocity on Rabel's shot.
It looks different, doesn't it?
It looks different in this tournament than what we're accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, he's been battling a hamstring injury. He's become a passer. He's kind of played to that malady. 4 assists in the pool play win over Team Canada.
Missed a couple of games.
Comes that high wing action. Canada starting from that spot.
Here's Byrne. Byrne got one off the side of the cage.
Galloway got a piece, and he went off his shoulder, then ricocheted off the orange pipe.
Transition opportunity for the U.S. Earhart. He's a threat. Hartzell on a bounce to Jake Bernhardt. And the U.S. will settle now on offense and wait for its personnel to come back.
Michael Earhart has never played better. The Maryland grad lives in New York City. He's got a desk job. He's kept himself in great shape. Charlotte Hounds in Major League Lacrosse. 6'5", 220, runs like the wind.
Here comes Hawes. You know, Kark, we were talking earlier, who's the MVP if the U.S. wins the gold? Do you give it to Ryan Brown, who, again, has had a great tournament, but he's also the product of a lot of other things that happen offensively for him to finish? And Quint and I were saying, if we don't have an answer, that's not necessarily a bad thing, given that a big question for the U.S. was, can they be unselfish? Can they play as a team?
Well, I think Brown's the best shooter in the universe, but the attention of Wolf and Pennell, what they're getting, changes and allows them to get those opportunities. Don't count out Michael Earhart, who had a couple goals in the semifinals and has been all over the field.
Nice check inside by Canadian midfielder Ian McKay right here, who has the ball right now.
And a flag down, Quentin.
Youngster out of Vermont, doing outstanding work for the Chesapeake Bayhawks. It was a good check inside.
Here's Noble. And now the penalty against the U.S.
Noble roughed up, and this is our first indication of some post-whistle shenanigans. Team Canada has stayed in our hotel all week long, so we've got wonderful access to Coach Randy Mearns and the players.
I was on the beach with them yesterday. Man, those boys need some sun. Dylan Ward, as good as he's been in the goal, obviously he hasn't been going to the beach much.
Well, he wears the sweats and the long sleeve outfit, Kark. It's like he's dressed for the winter in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, the only guy paler than him is Curtis Dixon.
We get a hold against Canada, and that negates the man up.
Calling it tight. Interference in international play now. U.S. can be super slow, and that penalty is gone. Opportunity wasted.
No clearing clock, no shot clock. A stall warning means you just have to keep it in with a wider attack box.
Canada's shown great discipline. You mentioned, you know, on game days, the beach is off limits. No sun. We've seen guys like Kevin Crowley in the workout facility, riding the bike, just a light little cardio in the morning to get his body going. Early in the week, he said, I have to be ready to play at 10 a.m. So that's why I'm in here every morning at 9.
Matt Danowski ties the game at 4. They call him Coach 40.
This week, I think, is the high water mark for Danowski. Rabel dodging to the middle. Danowski looks like he's going to set a pick, but he slips off this action, plants his feet, and then his outside shooting has been on target.
I think Brody Merrill might have deflected that. Dylan Ward didn't get a clean look at that one.
Duke's offensive coordinator leading the Blue Devils to the national championship game. They got a nice team coming back next year, and Matt's in the middle of a playoff hunt for the Chesapeake Bayhawks.
Media timeout. Matty D ties this gold medal game at 4. There's Pops. Brand new ball game in Netanya. The World Lacrosse Championships take place every 4 years. It's a global event. And Merab Severe, it's an opportunity to grow the game in a number of ways.
Absolutely. Throughout this week, we've spoken a lot about teaching the youth, but how about this? Wheelchair lacrosse. Over the last couple of days, trainers from U.S. Wheelchair Lacrosse held a clinic for 25 participants from all over the world, including Israel, Latvia, and Poland, just to teach them the game. At the moment, it's only being played in the U.S. and Canada. And guys, they're hoping that not only lacrosse will become an Olympic sport, but also a Paralympic sport if more countries catch on.
Oh, that would be something. There has been a lot of chatter this week about lacrosse and a potential entry in the near future to the Olympic Games. There's still work to be done, but work has been done here in Israel, where this event, and especially the play and the performance of Team Israel, a 7th place finish for a relatively new program. There is a lot of enthusiasm on the grassroots level amongst the Israeli youth for this sport as Jake Bernhardt speeds into the attack box.
Israeli lacrosse was a dream of a young man by the name of Scott Neese, and what he has accomplished since 2011 is miraculous, and it is encouraging. I get chills just thinking about the growth here. The national team is the epicenter. They're the nucleus of growth in Israel. So the members of the team have relocated from the States and are living here, and whether it's Tel Aviv, Netanya, Haifa, Ashkelon, they're giving clinics at elementary schools, middle schools. They're giving equipment, helmets, gloves, sticks. And the game is now being grown and harvested.
60%, Quint, of those players now have relocated for Israel. That's where the foundation's built, when you have the players that are in the grassroots and giving young kids a dream.
Danowski, his shot saved by Ward. And one player in particular, an 18-year-old young man by the name of Ori Bar David, who plays for Team Israel. He's a native of Israel, and he was part of that grassroots movement. He fell in love with lacrosse, not at first, but after a few visits with that sport. They came to his school, they asked him if he wanted to play, and now he finds himself on the national team. But he is representative of the future of that sport in this country.
We were at their opening party reception, so to speak, with the team, their organization, the parents, to hear from players like Ben Smith, Ari Sussman,
Max Siebold.
It is organic, authentic, and it's everything that this World Games should represent.
Some of the best moments have come off the field. Teams getting together informally, learning from each other. Crowley stumbles. Canada head coach Randy Mearns told us a great story about Jeff Snyder just going up to the Jamaican faceoff net. Mark Cockerton bounces one past Galloway. And it's 5-4.
Dodge City. We're seeing it again, Quint. These Canadian offensive players are attacking U.S. defenders at the wing. And Mark Cockerton, Josh Byrne, Wesley Berg, the list goes on and on. They roll these guys out with these mismatches, attacking short sticks. And they're getting underneath the defenders, and the help is just too late for the U.S.
That was just bad pick defense by the U.S. between Unterstein and Durkin, 33 and 51. And so many times we've seen these Canadian wing dodges end in dive shots. And that's a little bit of a rules adjustment for defensive coordinator Joe Amplo. The crease is a defender's friend. He's an extra defender in college, not so here in international play.
Kark, what's the counter defensively for the U.S.?
I think you got to press out on these Canadians. If you let them run out, then they have the options at the point of attack from a pick standpoint.
Well,
they could use the pick or they can roll away too. I think you got to get aggressive with these guys.
Look, the U.S. is hesitant to help from behind the net from X because they're fearful of that east-west ball reversal where Canada would wing dodge, click it behind the goal, and then attack the weak side quickly. You know, they're great passers. But at some stage, you got to slough in from X and help out underneath.
Slough in from X, but I think you need to play them out at the perimeter harder.
McIntosh feeding the crease and Dixon, who's got 2 goals.
The hard part of that, Kark, is because these Canadian players are one-handed, the U.S. is shading topside to take away the middle of the field, inviting that underneath move.
Yeah, but that's where they're masterful. That's why they don't need an offhand. If you're a righty, you don't need a left hand because of how good you are underneath. It's the shoulder technique.
There's Berg with another wing dodge and is shooting a little wide of the net.
You know, Quinn, we've seen it so many times too. When these guys get underneath, they can throw those backhanded passes. The idea of an offhand for these Canadians is completely irrelevant.
McIntosh McIntosh swivels inside. Over to Dixon at X. Trying to feed the crease. Looking for Matthews. Now it's McIntosh. Shoots it past Galloway. And it's a 2-goal lead for Team Canada.
Winning all the one-on-one battles. U.S. defense lacking physicality. And they've made individual mistakes that have come back to haunt them. This is just a simple wing dodge. Bernhardt just takes a sloppy approach. He runs at McIntosh. McIntosh plants with his right foot, cuts to his left. Olay. Easy goal.
It looks like Bernhardt's gas there, Anish.
Kark, remember the first matchup between these two? Our big question was, can Canada win one-on-one matchups in the half field?
The answer is unequivocally yes. And Ben McIntosh now with 14 goals. You can argue he might have been the last guy to make the roster here for Canada. If the Canadians win this, Quinn, is it out of the realm of possibility that he's an all-world player?
Oh, he is an all-world player. Coming into this game, he was fourth on the team behind Teet Dixon and Matthews in scoring. But
Yep.
he's shown up in the big games.
Yeah.
He scored off ball as a carrier. You know, he's not known as a great dodger. He's more of an off ball guy, but he's showcased the ability to capitalize on a sloppy approach.
Snyder plays it back to Pinnell, over to Wolf.
U.S. defense reeling right now.
Yeah.
I mean, Galloway is under assault from close range.
Snyder will dodge against Courier. Zach Courier, a do-it-all midi. A renaissance man for Canada. Here's Hawes against Bell. 44 in red. Shot is wide. And there for the backup, Jason Noble. He and his brother Jeremy, twin brothers, both on Team Canada. Now Bell, whose Twitter handle is UnrealFlow44.
The Nobles from Orangeville, Ontario. Home of Chris Sanderson, former Team Canada goalie. Home of Brody Merrill as well.
They played for Brody at the Hill Academy.
And they play for Chris Sanderson in this event, along with Dave Huntley, two just cherished members of the Team Canada fabric over the last decades. 18, Dave Huntley, a former player and coach, and then Chris Sanderson, the great goaltender.
Now it's Jeremy Noble, three-time All-American at Denver. Up top to Crowley, 21 in red. Taken first overall in both the MLL and NLL.
You know,
started
Anish,
Stony Brook.
I mentioned earlier that these American defenders need to press out. It's not just in terms of location. When I say press out, they need to initiate contact and disrupt the lines of these Canadian Dodgers. Going out and pressing out and using your stick for a hack is not what I'm talking about. It's pressing out and getting into the body of these wing Dodgers to disrupt their point of attack and their line, like that. Will Haas is getting into the body of Noble. That's what you need to do. You can't just press out and use your stick.
Now, this game has not been as physical, at least early on, as the first matchup. We get a stall warning on Team Canada, so they have to keep it in the attack box. Coming up on 90 seconds to play in this opening half.
They'd be content to end the first half on this possession, Anish. They're in absolutely no rush. International rules, it's a much slower game. Talk about the importance of face-offs and goaltending. You know, possession is magnified.
Cockerton out of Virginia. Against Unterstein.
They're going to end it here. They're going to try to end this after getting possession at the 2:30 mark.
Do you blame them?
No. Cockerton continues to hold it. Holds it.
Thanks for waking up this morning, folks. Text a friend.
Yeah, this is where if you've got another coffee.
Wake them up for the second half, okay?
Yeah, pour a little sugar in the coffee right now.
I heard Bill Tierney, head coach at Denver's up. My psycho brother Brian set his alarm. Jules Henningberg and Matt Cavanaugh.
Jake Steinfeld's watching on the West Coast, which we started at midnight.
20 seconds.
Send a text, call him up, lose a friend, gain a fan.
Oh, this is worth losing a friendship over with an early morning wake-up call. Here comes Noble. Final seconds, 5 seconds. Up top tee. Quick stick attempt. Dixon on the rebound. And it's not there. The Canadians ate up the final 2.5 minutes of that first half, keeping it away from the United States and taking a 6-4 lead into the locker room of this gold medal game. Down to Chris Cotter.
Thanks, Anish. Here with Coach Danowski. Coach, how do you defend them in the second half with those wing dodges? Seem to be really beating you with that.
We've got to slide. We've got to get somebody in position to slide. They've beaten us twice on those low wings, and they got the nice S dodge, and, we got to go.
Offensively, what do you need to do in the second half to generate a little bit more in these 4 goals?
We got to shoot the ball a little bit. And I think, we got to be a little more aggressive. I think our guys are waiting for the perfect shot. And you got to play with abandon, in this game. And I think we're a little bit too measured in that first half.
I did see you in a couple of timeouts, so you seem loose. The team still seems loose, even though it's a really tight, tense game.
Yeah, it was 4-4, and we're having a blast here in the sun in the Middle East.
All right, have a blast in the second half.
Remember where we are.
No doubt about it, Coach. Have fun in the second half.
All right, yes, sir.
All right, back to you, Anish.
July in the Middle East in Netanya, Israel. The gold medal game. The defending champs by 2 at the half.
From Team Japan, number 15, Tatsuki Hashimoto.
Joe Gold is watching in Baltimore.
From Team Japan, number 10, Junya Motoshima.
The Mother of Dragons has witnessed wing dodges as sharp as Valyrian steel in the opening half. Team Canada, a 6-4 lead on the United States at the break. And Ishraf with Quint Kesnick. We'll hear from Paul Carcaterra and Chris Cotter later on. First half observations, what jumps out?
3 bullet points if you're just waking up. Number 1, USA, no transition goals. They're playing a Canadian-style slow-down game when their advantage is their speed and athleticism. Number 2, Canada shooting 6 of 9. Ultra efficient. And 3, Jordan Wolf and Rob Pannell for Team USA. They're eating bagels this morning for breakfast.
The U.S. jumped out to an early lead. A couple of goals by Tom Schreiber and Paul Rabel off the rebound. It made it 2-0 United States. All Canada since then.
Yeah, Canada, first 2 possessions, turnover city. Then they went 4 consecutive possessions where they scored goals. Crowley uses his body, draws the double. Dixon flies that one and diving across the crease. Then Byrne, that's a wing dodge without help. McIntosh, Jordan McIntosh, the Drexel grad, has been terrific. You see Matthews' ability to deal with pressure. Joe Fletcher, ball watching. Dixon pulls the string, goes back door. All of a sudden, offensive momentum. It's been layup city. McIntosh once again, wing dodge to pay dirt.
13th edition of these World Championships. 46 teams competed. The last crusade featuring Canada, the defending champions, and the United States. Netanya, Israel, the site. We're at Netanya Stadium, right along the Mediterranean coastline. And Canada wins the opening face-off of the second half. Zach Currier off the ground, and Big Mark Matthews now will set up the offense. 86 degrees, partly cloudy, mostly blue skies though. So your app is telling me partly cloudy. I'm looking at blue skies, Quint.
Tell you, the sun here in Israel is unlike anything in the States. We're much closer to the equator, and 88 feels like 108.
Kark, how warm does it feel down on the field?
Really warm. 86 feels like 96 back home with the humidity. Hey, Quint, something to track. Keith Robertson from Shot Sniper. 20% of the U.S.'s shots are high against Dylan Ward. We talked about how that is the spot he might be vulnerable. Well, it's not reflecting in their shooting attempts. 20% of the shot attempts have been high. The rest, mid-level and low.
Love that analytics. Had that for the Australia game against the U.S. Anish, that we called on the sideline.
Yeah.
Up to the minute data that shows you, it's a shot chart, but then it also shows you where a team is placing their shots against the goalkeeper, where they've had success or where the goalie's made stops.
You divide the goal into 9 boxes, almost like a tic-tac-toe board. And you can see where a goalie's most vulnerable. And we saw with Ward, the numbers say, stick side high. Rob Pannell has his man hung up. A tornado of options from X. And Pannell will be patient and wait. Now Hasek comes out to meet him. Pannell spinning inside, has it jarred loose. We get a flag. And was Pannell pushed into the crease? He is down in front of goalie Dylan Ward.
Inside roll, gets leverage, and Hasek's got to hook him. That's a holding violation in my eyes against number 4, Graham Hasek. What a story he is. One of the best defenders in the field game now, playing in Major League Lacrosse for the Atlanta Blaze, but he has just torn it up indoors. Top defensive player in the National Lacrosse League. 6'2". He's got the same haircut that I have, Anish, but it's just fresher. I mean, it's a 1 on the sides and a 1 on the top.
Yeah.
He's from Port Perry, Ontario, and he played at Lindenwood.
He's a lot more intimidating than you.
I'd never heard of Lindenwood. No, I was scared. I said, you know, Graham, the hard part about the haircut is it grows like a tennis ball on the sides, and he chuckled. He goes, yeah, I cut it every 5 days.
Yeah, I'm about 2 yards from him right now, and he looks like
Bad man.
Mean dude.
Yes.
Hasek to the penalty area. Man-up opportunity for the United States. Canada, after trailing 2-0, scored 4 straight. The U.S. tied it at 4. Before Canada added 2 more before halftime, the U.S. turns it over. And Zach Currier, the human Roomba, is there for the ground ball.
U.S. in a funk right now. You know, you hope to play a better first 5 minutes of the third quarter. Inexplicably, Team Canada player stepped out of bounds. There's also soccer lines on this field. It can be a little confusing. How do you step out of bounds like that while you're not covered?
Probably deceived by the lines.
Yeah, inexplicably. Our English professor, Ket Kettering, in the truck.
No longer wants to go by John Kettering. That was a new development here in Israel.
Zone defense, Team Canada. Shorties up the middle.
Danowski to Rabel. Over to Schreiber. Back to Matt Danowski. Those 3 have 3 of the 4 U.S. goals. Danowski, Schreiber, and Rabel. Ryan Brown with his second. 6'5".
Zone buster. There's just no boundaries to the range, the velocity, the multiple release points. Schreiber to Brown, he's at about 14, 15 yards. Sizzler.
Yeah, you look at the weak spot from an analytics standpoint. Dylan Ward says shoot stick side high. Well, Ryan Brown plays by his own rules. He's the best shooter in the universe, and he can do it right-handed, he can do it left-handed, and all those different release points. Tracking him and scouting him is nearly impossible.
Kark, I've heard different things from players. Would you want to know where a goalie's most vulnerable? Would that narrow your window too much?
You know, yes, it certainly gets into your mind a little bit, but I think a guy like Ryan Brown, he's saying to himself, okay, this guy might be vulnerable here. He's going to have to react to me because I'm the best shooter in the world, and I could spray it in all those different quadrants.
Look at this stalemate at X. Baptiste and Withers, or rather Snyder. It's a scrum. Courier diving for it. We're going to get a hold on the U.S.-Canada ball. No quick restarts. The wing play coming through for the Canadians.
Guys, Courier is incredible. If you really, truly appreciate the little plays in a game that don't get the recognition, he is everywhere, 55 in red.
I wish they were wearing white today because his jersey and shorts would be all muddied. He has done it the hard way here in Netanya.
He was a 20-30 guy in his senior year at Princeton, and that only tells a fraction of the story. 130 ground balls, 21 caused turnovers, over 50% at the face-off X. Crowley. Falling backwards. Jeff Teat there to pick it up. We have not called the Teat's name much. Rising junior at Cornell, coming off a 99-point campaign.
Here comes that wing dodge from Canada. Let's see what the U.S. adjustment's going to be defensively.
Here is Teat.
Yikes.
Jeff Teat came into this tourney as one of the best players in college lacrosse. Now viewed as one of the best players in the world. Teat splits a double. Well, he almost did. And the U.S. has the ground ball off the turnover, and Tucker Durkin, the former Johns Hopkins Blue Jay, will set up the clear.
You got to get a little taste of some of the roughhousing now. This game's going to pick up in intensity, especially on the ground ball skirmishes.
Second meeting of this tournament between these two. An 11-10 throwdown epic the first time. This one separated by a goal. Snyder. Pennell over to Wolf. Here's Ned Crotty. 22 in white. An assistant coach at Duke. National champion with the Blue Devils in 2010. One of 4 Duke players on this team. You also have Blue Devils head coach John Danowski as the Team USA head coach. Crotty on the invert. Over to Brown, who's got 2. Now Hawes. Wolf guarded by Jason Noble. Wolf changing directions. Pythons. Back up top to Brown. Canada recovers.
Great defense by 45, the lefty, Noble.
Crotty against Latrell Harris. Shot and a save by Ward.
Crotty had the advantage. Not sure why he pulled up for that offering from the outside, Kark.
Crowley jogs into the attack box. Plays it back to Teat.
Thought Crotty should have carried further, Paul, after success in that dodge. He pulled up for a 13-yarder.
Agree. And you know what an issue here too is, Quinn? Canada is doing a fantastic job on the duo of Wolf and Pennell. That's Hossack, and you mentioned Noble.
0-0.
Yeah,
no points.
Those guys are playing incredible defense. Incredible.
Here comes Berg. That one hit the crossbar. On the rebound, Dixon. Has it knocked away by Fletcher. It comes to Snyder. Ducking under a couple of poles. Snyder walks it across the midfield line.
That's the first big break that the Stars and Stripes have caught.
Hossack's done a terrific job on Pennell. most of these games have been played in the evening hours here in Netanya, especially for these teams. A 10 a.m. local start time. And as we said in the first half, we thank our great viewers who have woken up early, 3 a.m. on the East Coast, to watch this game live. Flag coming against Canada. Wolf from the wing. On the doorstep, Snyder. And that one a little wide, but the U.S. will go man up.
Eventually, you got to make them pay if you're Team USA.
9:07 to go in the third quarter of this gold medal game. The Americans with the extra man and a chance to tie.
The 2018 FIL World Lacrosse Championship is brought to you by Hoenigs. Visit us at Hoenigs.com to check out how we take every sport to the next level. Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents. Protect what matters most. Go to TrustedChoice.com to find a local agent today. And Cascade Lacrosse, the #1 helmet in lacrosse. Cascade Lacrosse, a passion to protect.
The United States down a goal, but with the extra man and a chance to tie as we come up on 9 minutes to play in this third quarter. Israel has been the host country for these World Championships, and Team Israel finished 7th in the world rankings. Japan with a 6th place finish moves up into the blue division. That's the top 6 teams. Puerto Rico was strong, showing in their first World Games.
You know, the Israeli team had one of their games in this tournament on local TV. We're actually out in Tel Aviv watching it on our phones at a restaurant. Some notables in my eyes: Jamaica finishes 13th. That's a big deal. Hong Kong 27th, and Uganda at 40th. Head coach Johnny Christmas here doing admirable work with the Ugandan team, winning a game. We also got to spend a lot of time with the Latvian national team when we toured Jerusalem.
A lot of side quests that made this experience not just for us, but for all the teams involved. Crotty to Holman, the bouncer, and the U.S. pulls even at 6-6.
They call a quick timeout now with the extra man, and so they'll have another chance at it if they can win this next faceoff. You'll see ball reversal, high cut by Holman between those two defenders. Crotty picks up the assist. Good coaching and execution by Team USA. And finally, a little spark.
There's his father, Brian Holman, who will be the head coach at Utah, which makes the move to Division I, Salt Lake City, coming this spring.
Oh, yeah. There's Brian Holman and daughter Sydney, who played at North Carolina, Mrs. Holman. What Marcus Holman did there, too, which was a great technique. He performed a slight little twister when he caught that ball. He put it across his face to increase his angle because he was losing angle when he was cutting down from that diagonal spot and on the crease on the feed from Crotty. But Salt Lake City, westward expansion. You have Denver out there, you have Air Force, but now you have another school. It'll be the first Pac-12 men's lacrosse team. The Pac-12 in women's lacrosse is a sanctioned sport. They have 6 teams, so Utah can be a trailblazer in terms of big conferences out west.
Speaking of trailblazers, there's our man, Coach Nemo.
He has been the public address announcer for these games. He has embraced, learned, and come to love lacrosse. And he will be a contestant in the Israeli version of Ninja Warrior starting later this coming week.
I was amazed at how he's become just such a quick study of the sport. I've actually...
And a fan. To me, if you're trying to grow the game, look at people like him who had no exposure to lacrosse and in the span of a fortnight have become a true fan of the game. The enthusiasm when we've talked to him is genuine and real.
His smile stands out here in Israel.
Yeah, it does. at 6, gold medal on the line. Greg Gurenlian winning the faceoff for the U.S. against Jake Withers, the former Buckeye. Marcus Holman, who scored the game-tying goal.
Penalty continues in international.
Schreiber to Brown, who's got 2. Final seconds of this man up. Rabel. Schreiber, now to Brown. He can sling it from the outside. Skip pass to Rabel is knocked down. Even strength, 6-on-6. Rob Pennell, now Crotty. A couple of assists for 22 and White. Schreiber makes the move on Bell. On a hop to Pennell. Holman. Now Rabel against Courier. Rabel changes direction, draws the slide. And forced to go back. Brody Merrill, 36 years old. Can still play at a high level.
Can time a double, can he?
Yep. Holman on the inside, shut off by Courier. How much has this Canadian defense improved over the years, Kark?
Oh, unreal. I mean, it used to be Brody Merrill and a bunch of short stick defensive middies picking up long poles for world championships. Now you have guys like Graham Hassack and Jeremy Noble. Gilray, who played his collegiate ball, clearing the ball for Bucknell, who was sensational this season for the Bison. So real defenders.
Patience now by their offense because your defense has earned you the ball after an extended possession. You see some defenders hands on knees catching their breath. Remember, they had to kill off the penalty and then a lengthy possession. So that was a big, big stop for the guys in red. That's the real difference from this Canada team. Comparing the ones from the 70s and 80s is quality Division I defenders who have experience playing field lacrosse.
And our viewers have probably noticed commercial breaks are longer. There's a reason for that. Hydration breaks, giving players a little more time to hydrate and recharge through the course of these games. McIntosh, T. Back up to McIntosh. Flag down against the U.S. McIntosh, Matthews over to Teat, one more, and it's knocked down, so we get the penalty.
Gentlemen, they're calling that one more. We're seeing a lot of these ball transfers, and then the one Mississippi, and then the hack comes down. They're calling it. Called it on Noble, just called it on the U.S.
Make the adjustment right now if you're a player, defensive player. Know that if you slide late or check late, it's likely to be flagged. And I put some pressure now on these specialty units. That is the man up and the man down.
Penalty on Unterstein, so Canada to its extra man.
One cradle and a pass, and these guys can really zing it.
Byrne. Good look, Dixon!
Oh, he had Galloway there. Galloway was biting low, and then Superman stung it high to no avail.
Dixon again on the wing. He gets it back. Plays it to Berg. Berg feeding the crease off the stick of McIntosh on the ground. And we'll get a loose ball push on the U.S. It stays with Team Canada. 6-on-6 now. Matthews shadowed by Jake Bernhardt. He and brother Jesse both on this U.S. team. Byrne. Inside, McIntosh can't finish. A couple of bodies flying. Matthews able to pick it up. Canada resets. Here comes Dixon. Canada's top goal scorer, double team. Ball is out. McIntosh can't handle it. And now a whistle. A loose ball push against the U.S. It will stay again with Canada. And this lengthy possession continues. Kark, we're starting to see this U.S. defense be the aggressor.
Yeah, you remember the second half of round one earlier in the week. This one smells just like it.
Teat. Bernhardt lost his stick going for the ball. Now Dixon against Jesse Bernhardt.
Defensively, communication has to stay. As you get tired, your legs are burning, you got cotton mouth, you got to dig in and talk.
Canada has not scored in this third quarter. A 2-goal lead at halftime. Gone. Burned. Over to Teat. Teat. Too high and wide. There to back up Matthews. This defense has to be tired for the U.S. right now.
Fresh legs here. Noble comes on.
Yeah, Canada's subbing.
Yeah, they're subbing offensively.
Why isn't U.S. matching? Why isn't U.S. matching that, Paul?
Good question. This is the third sub, so they have an entirely fresh midfield, Canada. Cockerton, Crowley, Noble, fresh as can be. Bernhardt, Haas, Earhart, gassed.
That's a big strategic mistake for Team USA. They should have matched hip to hip, sub some fresh defenders on.
Cockerton to Haas. Good look that time by Dixon. The U.S. led early 2-0. A 6-2 run by Canada to close the first half made it 6-4 Canadians at the break. Brown and Holman have scored in the third quarter to tie the game for the Americans. 2 minutes to go in this third quarter. This possession like a Tolstoy novel right now. Here's Teat. Over to Crowley. Fresh midfield for Canada. As Kark said, the Americans on tired legs. 90 seconds to go in the quarter. Cockerton kicked away by Galloway.
Cockerton is a scary shooter, Quint.
He mixes it up. There's really no book on 41 in red.
How long has Canada had the ball here, Q?
I'd have to check the tape.
They put a stall warning on Canada. I'm not really sure that's fair. I mean, they're attacking.
Yeah, I don't get that. They just take an aggressive shot, goes out on the end line, and 10 seconds later, they're hitting with a stall?
No shot clock, so Canada just has to keep it in the box. But, you know, if you're watching, there was no stall tactic involved.
Single invert. You're going to see a roll-off by Matthews, 42 in red. U.S. in a four-man zone in front of the goal.
Crowley against Will Haas.
Hartzell, 81, is a designated backer here defensively.
5-minute possession I'm hearing from the scoring table right now.
Wow.
A USA stop would be gigantic momentum going into the huddle prior to the fourth.
Here comes Crowley. Pythons his way around the crease, plays it up top. Dixon hangs on to it, pops it behind the back. Cockerton. Loose ball near the crease. Teat has it. Checked away. The U.S. has it. And the United States defense, a big fist pump by Earhart. A huge hold by the Americans to keep this game tied in the fourth quarter. Canada on the offensive. And the U.S. withstands. Shaping up for a photo finish for this gold medal tilt. Tied at 6. 20 minutes to go in regulation.
All knotted up, heading to the fourth quarter. Team Canada, Team USA, a world championship on the line. We wouldn't have it any other way. Back on the field here in Netanya, Chris Cotter alongside Paul Kark and Terry Kark. I mentioned the first half. Team still seemed relatively loose. That all changed in that third quarter, and especially with that 5-minute possession there for Canada.
Entirely. The bottom line here is pretty simple. In the U.S., if you play 2 games in 3 days, it's a big deal. Both of these teams, 7 games in 9 days, and the U.S. defensive midfield, they're going to be called to the carpet. I think that unit will dictate this fourth quarter. Canada has had long possessions. Jake Bernhardt, Will Haas, Mike Earhart.
Yeah.
How much gas do they have in the tank? It's going to come down to that unit.
And then you think about that third quarter, Canada offensively scoreless in that third quarter. I was thinking at the half, 4 goals for the U.S. in the second half isn't going to work, but it might because of the way this game has gone.
It might because of their ball movement and their possessions in wearing down the opposition.
Anish Q, got 1 quarter left. Champion's going to be crowned. It's going to be fun getting there.
Pour out another espresso, folks. If you're watching at home, I know it's early in the United States. Our East Coast audience, our West Coast audience, Midwestern and Central time zones. A lot of viewers for this game, and listen, if you woke up early or you stayed up late, you're getting some pretty high quality lacrosse.
Text them, call them, wake them up. We got 20 minutes to go.
Snyder and Gurenlian at the face-off X. 2 legends at the X. Little anticlimactic violation on Gurenlian. He flinched. Face-off violation. Canada has it. Tied at 6, heading into the final 20 minutes of regulation. Now, it is of note, overtime is a little different than what you see in the U.S. You have 2 4-minute periods. You play the 4-minute periods in their entirety. After that, if it's still tied, then you go to sudden victory. Long way from that, though. The Americans looking to recapture the gold. Canada looking to defend its championship in the World Games.
Canada only 2 goals since that first quarter. In the third quarter, they shot 0 for 5. U.S. made some nice adjustments on defense. They've done a better job against the wing dodges.
To what Kark and Cotter were talking about it. Do you try to make this a war of attrition, wear down that U.S. defensive midfield? Here comes Berg. Remember that third quarter ended with what was a 5-minute possession for Team Canada. Dixon with a hat trick, and Superman has Team Canada on top by 1.
Low angle shooting reigns supreme when 17 in red has the ball. He doesn't have much of a left hand, but when he drives up the left side, and that's where they're inviting him. They're so concerned with his right-handed dodging, his strength around goal line extended. So he goes up the left side, doesn't put it in his left hand, puts it across his body for the shovel shot. This guy is masterful when there's no angle.
He's a Calgary Roughneck after leading Delaware to championship weekend. The all-time goals leader as a Blue Hen, and timely. You know, for years, everyone preaches, well, you need to be ambidextrous to play field lacrosse. These Canadians, with their success in 2006, 2014, and a lead right here, they're proving that that's not the case. Their one-handed brand of lacrosse is beating the American two-handed brand.
They're beating the Americans at their own game, the field game. Rabel and Courier size each other up. Rabel was the MVP for the U.S. in 2010 when the Americans last won the gold. He had 3 goals in the final against Canada in 2010.
Couldn't sub Snyder out. The face-off man, 18 in red, got caught on the field. Danowski going one-on-one.
Going right at him, beats him. Had a good look, and now Snyder's going to sprint off the field. And this is where you would like a fast restart.
Well, they wanted it, but Randy Mearns smart enough to call timeout for Canada as U.S. was looking at a momentary 6-on-5.
We approach 5 a.m. in the East Coast, approaching noon here in Netanya, Israel, on the Mediterranean coast. Anish Shroff, Quint Kesnick, Paul Carcaterra, Chris Cotter, Marav Severe. Been a fun fortnight here in Israel from drama on the lacrosse field when the U.S. and Canada have played. A wonderful finish to the bronze medal game between the Iroquois and Australia last night. We had a chance to visit one of the holiest cities in the world, Jerusalem, and so did a number of teams. You see the U.S. players at the Stone of Anointing in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is where Jesus is buried. The Wailing Wall, the holiest site in Judaism. That's the panoramic view from the Mount of Olives, where you can see the old city of Jerusalem. Take a stroll down the Via Dolorosa, a passport through time, a passport through history, a nexus of ancient religions and ancient history, figures that you read about and you hear about, and you get a chance to walk in their footsteps.
Add to that trip to the Dead Sea, to float in those buoyant waters. Tel Aviv, the beach in that city with the wonderful young culture there, the food, the hummus, and getting to watch you swim, Anish.
Cotter, what are you going to remember from this trip?
Food's been amazing. The people have been gracious. But I think it's the lacrosse community coming together, taking a chance on a place that you really would think would be crazy to come for a world championship, but it's worked out beautifully. And my biggest takeaway will be when I saw the video of the Iroquois and Uganda working a clinic together. The Iroquois were, and afterwards singing One Love. Cotter?
Yeah, you kind of stole my thunder on that one. I loved seeing the way the Iroquois nation responded to so many of these teams and players from maybe some of these smaller nations or not lacrosse powerhouses who wanted to meet Lyle Thompson, wanted to meet Miles Thompson, get their autographs. I thought they were very gracious. They had a hard time getting here, and once they got here, they were very active. Marav?
For me, it was watching Israeli children who've had a chance to watch these guys that until now they've only seen on YouTube their heroes coming to life in front of them. It's bringing a new life to lacrosse here in Israel that will hopefully help this sport grow.
Rabel. Wolf has the backup. It's been a cultural experience. You feel like a time traveler in this country. Danowski, Schreiber, and we're tied.
Canada just a little too packed in. 17 in red. Merrill's on the scene a tad late. Danowski to Schreiber as he's posted up at about 11 yards. Critical goal coming off that timeout by Randy Mearns of Canada. Here we go, tied at 7 apiece.
Marav, how do you say great goal by Tom Schreiber in Hebrew?
שער מצוין של תום שרייבר.
I love the way she says Schreiber. I think Cotter's picked up the most Hebrew out of anybody in our group.
It's more Yiddish than Hebrew, I think. Slight difference there. We are all mishpucha here, though. That's how I feel.
Yeah, as long as you,
I'm so excited about this fourth quarter. I'm going to plot.
as long as you feed him and you're on time, you don't have to worry about those muscles strangling you.
I'm told that the meaning of Schreiber in Yiddish is writer. I guess scriber, Schreiber. We are tied at 7 with a gold medal on the line. The final game of these World Championships. The U.S. and Canada playing in the championship game for a 6th consecutive World Championships. Canada's won 3 gold medals, including 2 of the last 3. The U.S. 9. Cockerton. Over to Matthews. Back to Cockerton. Trying to get around Will Hawes. Cockerton lowers that right shoulder, initiates the contact, the drive. He'll try it again on the redodge. Changing directions. Crowley. Good defense by the U.S. Noble. This one slips out past the end line. Team USA ball.
Nice defense by the guys in white, just digging in as the Canadians approach, always a two-handed cradle. They never really go to that one hand, and they're able to absorb checks. USA standing strong. Clearing and riding in the blue division really hasn't been an issue. US has only had 2 failed clears the entire tournament. The field is so wide, there's no clock, and so riding and clearing is very de-emphasized. You think that teams would try to ride to inject tempo in these games, but it's foolhardy.
That's why you have not seen many comebacks. You pair that with the rules and no shot clock and no clearing clock.
And the heat.
And the fatigue. Rob Pannell still looking for his first point of the game. Canada's been terrific on Pannell and Wolf. Pannell against Hasek. He's an all-world defender. Pannell saved by Ward.
Nice defense by Hasek, who's playing Pannell as a righty. He doesn't bring his stick in front of the dodging attackman. He keeps it on Pannell's right.
Why?
Well, he just feels that Pannell's driving up left-handed to spin for his right hand. That right on the spin to the outside, the question mark, is more dangerous. It was great defense that forced a very average shot.
Here comes Dixon matched up on Crotty. Now the U.S. switches. Bell and Crotty will run off.
Offensive coordinator Matt Brown, Bill Tierney's assistant at Denver now, with this Team Canada group. He's got answers. Wing dodges early from that low wing were highly successful. Now we're seeing maybe a little more high wing with a pick.
81 in white, Kyle Hartzell. He's played with a short stick and a long stick. Now a shorty.
Yeah, and that changed the matchup. It was a well-set pick, which forced the USA switch.
Hartzell guarding Matthews. Matthews shooting too high. Hartzell, 81 in white. The only Division III player on the U.S. team, started Salisbury. Was not recruited by anybody. Had to walk on. And now gets to wear the USA on the front of that jersey. Here is Berg. He's been a big-time goal scorer, a clutch scorer in his career. Matthews. McIntosh, a bouncer turned away, and a flag is down.
Unterstein buried McIntosh after the release. It's going to be a holding violation. They work the weave. Matthews is so aggressive with his feeds. He is just fearless to throw the ball inside. Total trust in his teammates.
Teach you at a young age in Canada. If it's near your stick, you better catch it. He's got crazy confidence. But Quint, the one more after the shot in the pass, they're calling it here.
Man up opportunity for Canada. A chance for the lead. Byrne. That shot was altered and it hits the big screen behind the goal. That takes us to a media timeout. Go brew another pot of coffee. 9:52 to go. Tied at 7 as we play for the gold. Tied at 7 in Netanya, Israel. In this gold medal game, Tom Schreiber, a couple of goals for the U.S. Curtis Dixon, a hat trick for Canada. A gold medal on the line as we check in with Paul Carcaterra.
Canada's extra man offense always predicated on the crease play. Look for some kind of an exchange between McIntosh, 19 in red, and Wesley Berg, 14 in red. for the Canadian offense. Chris, what do you got on that U.S. defense?
All right, in general, Coach Danowski brought everybody together and said it's the same thing as the last time out. Believe in yourself, believe in your teammates. On the offensive side, I was in Tierney's huddle, and he said, look, here's what we're going to do. We got to use our speed, and we got to cut to score. Don't be afraid to make that through pass, but cut to score.
That pass gets away. It'll stay with Canada. Durkin knocked it out. But we're at even strength now. 6-on-6. Byrne. Over to Matthews. Now Wesley Berg. In the NCAA tournament, Berg 39 career goals. Only Gary Gait with more. Matthews looking for a cutting Dixon. Instead, it's a turnover. And a Team USA ball as we come up on 9 minutes to play. Failed clear. Dixon has it. Unsettled opportunity. Dixon shovels it back. Team hits the crossbar. Team USA caught a break.
Giveaway, and then the ricochet happens to bounce to where there are two Team USA defenders for the backup. That would have been catastrophic.
You just mentioned how few failed clears there were for the U.S.
Who can handle the moment now, Anish? Who's going to rise to the moment? You know, all of these guys are big-time college, NLL, or Major League Lacrosse players. They've all been here before. Who handles the moment?
I don't know, Quint. There's a lot of guys to choose from. Wolf has, Danowski has, Pennell has, Rabel certainly has. Matt Danowski has the shorty. Now back to Rabel. He was the MVP, Rabel, in 2010.
No motion on this offense. Guys just standing around.
Danowski against Tyson Bell. Shooting too high. Rob Pennell there for the backup. 2013 Tewaaraton Award winner. Pennell against Hasek. Pennell dumping it for Schreiber. Canada has it. Ward gets it out quickly. Hasek. Got a few U.S. offensive players trapped on defense. Danowski and Rabel.
Yeah, they're trying to match up now hip to hip. They're basically face guarding their man, and they're going to try to keep that matchup integrity.
This is problems, though, for the U.S. because when you face guard, because of the exchange in the box, Canada potentially can go 5-on-5 here.
That's what they're going to do. Out of the box comes Cockerton.
So Hasek's playing a little hangman, bottom of your screen.
With Danowski.
5-on-5 will take the U.S. out of their normal slide rotation in the 6-on-6 set.
Crowley will go at Unterstein. Crowley using that size. Plays it back to Teat. Just missed giving Canada the lead a few moments ago. Hit the crossbar off a failed U.S. clear.
It's tense down here, boys. It's tense.
Kark, if you're Canada, how patient are you here?
Well, you got the look. You got to have the backup. You got to keep Teat behind the goal in case of an errant shot. It's the 5-on-5 set. You want to hold on to it. You want to attack with the shorties. Potentially Crowley's got a matchup.
Teat and Bernhardt take a tumble. Cockerton, flag is down. Penalty coming against the U.S. And now Hasek will run back. So now Canada with its full offensive personnel. The U.S. has its defensive alignment, but a flag coming against the Americans. Teat gets free. Back to Cockerton. Cockerton inside! Canada with the lead!
Once again, a wing dodge underneath. Tucks that one over Galloway's shoulder, right past his ear.
Ice, ice, baby. Cockerton not rattled. It's been the bread and butter all afternoon for the Canadians. The midfield wing dodge, Anish.
A little bit of a flashback, 1978, 40 years ago. Mark Cockerton's dad, Stan the man, scored the game-winning goal in overtime for Team Canada to beat the U.S. in the gold medal game. Baptiste can't handle it. Snyder with the face-off, and Canada has it back. 4 minutes to go in regulation. The Canadians sitting on a 1-goal lead.
It was Courier who made the play, and now a whistle far side.
The U.S. has it back. Here's Jake Bernhardt.
If the refs called offsides there, they got it wrong.
They did. They had 4 guys back, Quint.
Wow.
Huge,
Can't
huge.
miss that one in this spot. Cannot. Rabel, Danowski, and Schreiber, the midfield for the U.S. Brown, Wolf, and Pennell on attack.
You try to give them the benefit of the doubt in a world championship. You can't make that call, gentlemen.
Here comes RP3. Quiet all morning. Ryan Brown! The laser upstairs! It's tied at 8!
Best shooter in the universe. You save your best for last. You come in with 22 goals leading the blue division. It is straight up magic when 4 and white cocks it back because you have no clue where it's coming from. We've seen every release point, every shooting level. This one, low to high, complete smoke show.
A stealth missile, but the phantom offsides call may be the lead storyline of this fourth quarter.
100%. Brown, 25 goals in this tournament. A timeout by the United States. 2:52 to go in the fourth. U.S.-Canada Part 2 has been every bit as good as what we saw just a few days ago. Meanwhile, Ryan Brown continues to sizzle and continues to eat. 25 goals for the man who left Johns Hopkins with 159 career tallies, second only to Terry Reardon.
Somewhere along the line in his career, back when maybe he was at Calvert Hall, Ryan Brown started putting in the extra time to refine his shooting motion, his technique, and it has become a science for him. Now his career at the Charlotte Hounds of Major League Lacrosse, and as an assistant coach at Marquette under Joe Amplo, he gets a lot of time to shoot on goalies, shoot on his free time, and all those extra reps have paid off. He is the best in that discipline in the sport. The challenge now is for Team Canada to get beyond the officiating mistake. You can't be bitter, okay? You can't let that moment define this game.
They're bitter, Q. Zach Courier, a bunch of the other guys going after the refs during this timeout.
Can you blame them? I mean, that is a horrendous call.
No, you can't blame them. But as Quint was saying, if you let yourself get captured in that moment, there's no shot you'll win this game.
Yep. If you're just tuning in, if somebody texted you or called you and said, hey, ESPN2, U.S.-Canada tied at 8, less than 3 minutes to go. Moments ago, Canada had the ball, called for an offsides. They were not offsides. The U.S. got it back. Ryan Brown tied the game at 8. 2:55 to go in regulation. Overtime is not sudden victory right away. You play 2 complete 4-minute periods, and then if it's still tied, sudden death. USA chants from the American faithful. The last meeting in this tournament between these two here in Netanya came down to the wire. The U.S., though, led that game most of the way. Canada took a fourth-quarter lead. Matt Danowski tied it. Paul Rabel won it. And it's Rabel to Danowski. Canada won the gold in 2014. Danowski, Pennell, off the mark wide. It'll stay with the U.S., 2:17 to go.
Using Danowski as the party starter. That is the Dodger who's trying to draw the double team. Now it's Rabel's turn.
Kark, if you're the U.S., do you make it a one-possession game given the time?
You're teetering around that time, yes. I think with the lack of success of Jordan Wolf and Rob Pennell, I think you got to put the ball in the stick of Tom Schreiber.
Instead, it's Matt Danowski. Over to Pennell, ball on the ground. Pennell tries to keep it in, double teamed. Colossal ground ball near the end line.
Look at this.
Out of the scramble, it's still loose. Kicked, goal line extended. Red jerseys, white jerseys. We get a push on Canada. U.S. ball, 1:25 to go. That's the type of tension that locks the human throat. Wow. And now if you're the Americans, you got to hold for one, right, Quint?
Not necessarily.
Crotty over to Pennell. Shot clock, or I should say stall warning on the U.S. There is no shot clock. The Americans have to keep it in the attack box.
Yeah, now they're definitely holding for one.
45 seconds to go. A gold medal on the line.
Attack at 12 seconds. Gives yourself a chance for a follow-up, a rebound.
The big bad Wolf, 31 in white. About 10 yards behind the cage.
Single invert with a crease man, Pennell, and then an umbrella up top.
Now Wolf against Courier, the short stick. Wolf to Rabel for the lead, and too high.
He had him. He had Ward drop it.
Final seconds. Here comes Wolf. Wolf gets free, and a look. 5 seconds to go. And Wolf slow to get up.
Defensively, you got to match up here. Take arms. This ball's going to be fed to the crease. Check down hard and listen to your goalie who's yelling check.
Scorer's table says 5 seconds.
Pennell, Schreiber. 2 seconds. That's what it says at the scorer's table. Schreiber! It counts! And the Americans win! Tom Schreiber delivers the game winner at the buzzer.
To say this last 3 minutes has been anything less than controversial would be an understatement. From the phantom offsides call to time being put on the clock and this last second goal, the Canadians are in disbelief on their sideline and protesting.
Yeah, they're now saying there's 1 second left on the clock. And the Canadians Canadian sideline, you can see them barking that there's more time than what the official scores are putting on. Remember, after the 3-minute mark, the clock stops when the ball goes out of bounds. There is no running clock once you get to the 3-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Barring a miracle, Tom Schreiber delivered one of the most memorable moments and one of the most memorable goals in the history of these World Championships. There it is.
I talked about you've got to be face-to-face. Schreiber uses his stick to ward off the defender and then sprints with his great speed. Catches and finishes in tight. There's no excuse for that defensively. You want to grab, hold, fight, make it impossible for your offensive player that you're covering to get the ball. Now, there is no video review here. Maybe the refs are looking at the screen, but I'm not sure there's any way that Canada has an argument. It cannot be overturned from our standpoint, Anish.
No. You can't add time, you can't subtract time. There will be more than a tinge of controversy to the end of this game.
This is an international incident that will probably lead to officiating changes for the FIL in the blue division.
John Moran, the head coach of Canada, is livid because he said when there was 9 seconds on the clock, they didn't start it for a couple seconds after. So the 1 second in his mind should have been gone.
Yeah.
It is a final 3 minutes, Anish, that tarnishes what has been a wonderful World Games here.
It's been a wonderful World Games. Again, the optics of it, you have a great finish, Schreiber with a memorable goal, but you're right. With what happened with the scores table and keeping the time, the offsides call, which led directly to the game-tying goal by the United States. Nobody's coming out to the face-off X right now for Team Canada. Randy Mearns is peeved, and rightly so.
Yeah, when he gets home and watches this, it's not going to be a happy viewing. The offsides call was the worst I've ever seen. The clock management here by the officials, not up to par. These are world-class athletes.
This is the biggest game of the tournament. You don't want to let officiating or poor officiating have a major say in the outcome. And to take nothing away from Tom Schreiber's heroics, there's certain things from an officiating standpoint you have to get right on this stage, especially in this game above all other games.
And it's not only the officials, it's that head table with the clock. I go back to that opening game when they put 20:08 up on the clock. Like, they do some things that are like bizarre for this level.
Again, at times the clock that we see at the bottom of your screen doesn't match up with the clock that we see in-house on the big screen.
Absolutely did not fucking
Down to Kark.
You see 1 second left, but Randy Mearns' argument here is that 1 second should be really like -2, so the Schreiber goal never should have existed because he said at 9 seconds, it took them 3 seconds to start the clock.
There'll be no changes. U.S. will win their first World Championship since 2010. Canada will be bitter and steamed. This will be an interesting handshake post-game, folks. This will carry over into Coquitlam, British Columbia in 4 years, 2022.
When Canada is the host country. 2 hard-fought games, and you hate to see officiating have a hand in it. The United States recaptures the gold. The postscript will have some controversy here, but Tom Schreiber plays the hero, the Stars and Stripes, back on top of the lacrosse world. That's the game winner. Rob Pannell to Tom Schreiber, our trusted choice